Alrighty, here we go, Lauren.
Alright, I am here to talk about how to make pavlova. As you may or may not know, this is a traditional Kiwi dessert, or New Zealander as some call it. And me being half Kiwi or New Zealander, I take a lot of pride in this dessert. I have made it many times with my family, since it does hold a lot of cultural value. And as you can see on the bottom, it's kind of like this meringue, and then there's cream and fruit. It's a delicious dessert that's great when it's super hot outside, and it's really hard not to like. Alright, so it was originally made in New Zealand. It was made by a chef who had just watched this ballerina named Pavlova dance. He wanted to create this dessert that was as light as air and flew through the air like the ballerina Pavlova, and so he created this meringue-based dessert. Like all good things that New Zealand makes, Australia tries to claim it as their own, but that is not true. It was made by a New Zealand chef in New Zealand. But because of this rivalry, it's become a big part of New Zealand culture, and it has been named the national dessert of the country. Alright, so you have some pretty basic ingredients. It's egg whites, salt, caster sugar, which is like normal sugar, but it's a finer grain, and it just helps it to dissolve easier. Vanilla essence, cornstarch, vinegar, whipping cream, and fruit. Now, what's so important about these here is the proportions. As Mary Cadogan says in her 2012 article, How to Make Meringues, proportions are critical. Baking is less about mixing and more about chemistry. And when looking at these ingredients, I always find it strange that you would put vinegar in something that's so sweet. But it actually helps to keep the air within the beaten up eggs. And as Felicity Cloak says in her 2010 article, How to Make the Perfect Meringue, all meringues need stabilizers in order to create a gooey inside with a crisp, crunchy outside. So, what you want to do is to first start off by preheating your oven to 300 degrees, as you do with most recipes. Is you want to make sure you have your oven ready before you make your thing. And then you're going to beat your 4 egg whites until stiff peaks form. Now, in order to get perfect stiff peaks, Martha Stewart recommends in her 2012 article, Meringues Guaranteeing Success. You want a cold bowl with cold metal utensils. This way you're making sure that there are no fats getting in your eggs that are going to prevent the eggs from whipping up into this white peaked form. Now what to look for. You want to make sure that it is stiff enough to be able to hold itself. As you can see in the 2 photos, when it starts to curve, it's still not ready yet. That means it's not going to be able to hold itself, and it'll still be kind of floppy, and when you put it on the disc, or on your sheet, it'll just kind of collapse. And a fun party trick you can do to know if your eggs are beaten enough is you can actually flip the bowl upside down, and if it stays, you know it's ready. Then, after that, you mix in the sugar with your egg beaters, and you fold in the cornstarch, vinegar, and vanilla. Now, the folding is a very specific technique, as you can see in the GIF. It's not mixing, otherwise you're going to knock out air from your whipped up egg whites. So it's a very specific, around and stab almost, so that you're not actually taking air out of your mixture. Then you want to place your pavlova, or your meringue, on a baking sheet. And you want to make sure you get those high walls, as you can see in the other photo. That's going to make sure that you can get really nice, thick marshmallowy texture in the bottom and have a crisp outside. Because if you just do it too thin, the whole thing is going to be crispy, and you're not going to get that gooey inside that you really want. And, alright. Sorry. Then, when mixing too, you have to make sure that you get the sugar completely dissolved. Otherwise, when you eat it, you'll feel like you're eating sand, and it's kind of gritty. I mean, it doesn't taste bad, it's just gritty. So you have to make sure your sugar is completely dissolved. And then, we put it in the oven, and you cook it. And you first want to cook it for 15 minutes, and then turn your oven off and leave it for 1¼ hours. By doing this, you end up heat blasting it, and you create a shell on the outside, gooey on the inside, like I've been repeating, try and get. And once that's done, you can end up topping it with fruit and cream. So the best part of the pavlova is being able to create a bunch of different designs based on your seasonal fruits and being able to get creative with those designs. So that is how to make a pavlova. And I hope you all now get to go try it. It's a great dessert to do in hot weather.